All right, we are live, man. GYGB War Report Show. I am your co-host, Roberto Flack, my man R.O. Diggity in Philly. What is goody, my dude? We are live, man. GYGB we got a Report Show. We got the backup audio. Hold up. Flack, man, R.O. Diggity in Philly. What is goody, my dude? Technical difficulties. Here we go. R.O. Diggity, what's goody, man?
Yeah, what was that, man?
The feedback, a little delay.
Goodness gracious, man. Thanos, it must mean that Thanos is coming.
Shout out to Train, who is currently at the theaters right now going to see Endgame. Got my tickets for Sunday with the fans, so we are there, man. So yeah, man, we have as we're literally starting this show, there's just news popping off, and we're gonna get to it, man. But there is boxing this weekend. Let me go through the schedule. There's a couple of fights. Well, really on DAZN. Well, there is fights on ESPN, but on DAZN, they're still doing the World Boxing Super Series, the 140-pound division. Kyril Relik against Regis Proregas. He's under Top Rank, and he's another one of these guys that's getting the push. Nonito Donaire is now facing Stefan Young, and that is I forgot the dude's name that he was fighting, but it's a fill-in, like last minute. Nonito Donaire, funny enough, man, might be in the finals of this World Boxing Super Series in the bantamweight division, in a division he hasn't been in years, after winning the title in his previous fight. So that's going on in DAZN. And then on Showtime, Robert Easter Jr., Rances Barthélemy for the regular WBA lightweight title. Victor Postles on the undercard on that card. So that's on Showtime. So we got some boxing this weekend, man. But yeah, we got to get into the news, man, because I'm looking at the list right now. Before I got on, we got on the show. I'm just going through the topics, and look, we're talking. We're going to be talking about Terence Crawford, Amir Khan. It's still a topic as it relates to how it culminated. But ROD, you got on the line. I mean, one of the first things you talked about as far as one of the topics at hand is one of the big news stories that we got yesterday that was like a bombshell, and that is after I don't know how many years. I mean, a good pocket of years, but Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, and Abel Sanchez have split up in a news story that broke yesterday. We saw Triple G sign with DAZN. We're under the impression he was, Abel Sanchez was, part of the picture, just like Tom Loeffler was. And yeah, man, that is not the case, and it doesn't look like it's a friendly split, so to speak. So ROD, man, like, give me your 2 cents on this this quote unquote drama story now, right?
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, man, because it's just what did Lauryn Hill say in her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill? It's funny how money changes the situation.
Yeah.
The lost ones. And it's a shame, man, because, here again, what does the Bible say? The Bible doesn't say that, owning money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money. And it's unfortunate because when you read the articles, Abel Sanchez, greedy Golovkin offered me a fifth of my normal pay. It all came down to dollars and cents. And, no one's in the philanthropy business, so everybody wants to get paid their worth. But again, it's just a shame, man, when you see these dynamic duels break up, man, because of dollars and cents, man. And I don't know really what to make of it, man, other than that, it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Some people believe that this is kind of what Triple G needed because, he didn't look too well in the Canelo fight. He needs someone at his advanced age to push him a little bit further and to teach him different things. And the other half are like, well, hey, you know, this was wrong at what Triple G did. You know, he should have gave Abel Sanchez his money. After all, he made him into a Hall of Fame caliber fighter, and now he doesn't want to give, the guy his recognition. So there's two sides to this coin, unfortunately, and it's just a shame, man, because I think that he'll be able to get away with not having a higher caliber trainer with this guy that's coming up. But if we're talking about fighting the Charlos and maybe a Canelo 3 or even a Danny Jacobs rematch, whoever it is, he's going to need that think tank to be in his corner.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see who he hires as his trainer now, because I mean, some people think that at this stage of his career, similar to Cotto and some others, that they maybe get with a high profile trainer, but like, does that trainer teach them anything new, or they are just match really well? Because like Triple G is what, he's 37, right? Outside of Canelo Alvarez, I don't see him in these big challenging fights per se. Like, people want to see him in there with like Demetrius Andrade and if not Canelo, right? But I don't know. Like, I don't know what the end game is. And look, to be fair, we don't know the deal that this dude Abel Sanchez was being offered. I mean, none of us really know, but it is kind. I mean, you can kind of see his point, but like you said too, man, like it's a business. Things like this happen all the time. None of us really saw this coming, because look, even in the first fight with Canelo, I mean, the majority stock of people thought Triple G won, and then in the second fight, even though we won, I mean, we thought Canelo won. It was hard for us to really sit there and flat like argue to a T, that or at least not give people concessions that Triple G might have won the fight. It was the second fight was really close, but we didn't leave that fight thinking, oh man, Triple G needs a new trainer. At least I didn't think so. So this was kind of a bit of a surprise, because we were hearing that Tom Loeffler wasn't going to be involved in Gennady Golovkin's career, being like he would be signing with the Zone and things as such, but that wasn't the case. So I guess the plot twist is it's Abel Sanchez that's no longer going to be in the picture. We're going to find out soon enough who Golovkin's trainer or trainers are going to be going forward, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go try to run through these topics, man, because we're gonna try to cover a lot within an hour, man. Listen, one of the fights we've been talking about that we believe is on the horizon and looks as if is being set up as we speak, could be finalized and announced following the May 4th Cinco de Mayo weekend, which is gonna be Canelo Danny Jacobs. We're hearing through the grapevine that Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman are close to finalizing a deal for July 20th on Fox pay-per-view that would solidify the WBA welterweight championship of the world. And this is no shock to me at all. What is shocking me is that it's happening around July, and I thought this was something that they were going to maybe visit in the fall. So your thoughts, man, ROD. Do you have interest in this fight at all?
I mean, I don't even know how to answer that. And the reason why I don't know how to answer that is because, you know, do we really want to see this version of Manny Pacquiao fight Keith Thurman? Furthermore, do we really want to see Keith Thurman fight anybody other than Errol Spence? So that's my dilemma right there. Like, I'm happy that, Manny's going to be able to get a fight. Hey, let me tell you something. From a strategic standpoint, Manny could possibly win this fight because it's not like, Keith Thurman is all that much bigger than him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it could happen, but it's just kind of funny, man, how, you know, it's sort of like, the person that gives you, you tell them, hey, I want a sandwich. They give you everything else but that sandwich you want. They give you pizza, filet mignon. They give you, smoothies. They give you whatever you want. A Benz. They give everything you want but that sandwich. Keith Thurman gives us everything we want but that Errol Spence fight. I mean, he just listen. If it's up to Keith Thurman, like he was calling out Floyd. Floyd was in retirement, and Errol Spence was right there. So I don't know if this fight gives him any stripes, man. I hope that Manny Pacquiao, I know it's gonna sound crazy. I hope Manny Pacquiao can turn back the clock like George Foreman did, and just knock out like the Michael Moore in his division. Like, just beat the younger guy, because this guy is calling everybody else out but Earl Spence. So to me, man, it's just, I don't know.
See,
I have mixed feelings about it, and that's why I said I don't even know how to answer that question, because I really believe that he should be fighting Earl Spence. That's just the bottom line.
yeah, I see. I think I'm looking at it from, I guess, like a point of view where I've been telling people, man, I think this is a fight where Pacquiao might look 40 years old, and I'll explain why, man. Is people are looking at the Jose Cito Lopez fight with Keith Thurman, and they're looking at a guy that was pressuring, and we've seen that works against Thurman. But what we've seen with Manny Pacquiao since he got knocked out, he's not rushing guys. He's not pressuring you. He's still fast. He's still got some pop. He's not as active, and he doesn't like when guys are moving around. And we know that Keith Thurman, when he needs to, he can get on that tricycle, man. Or he can get on that four-wheeler when he needs to, And it's interesting, man, because like I think for Thurman, like I think when you look collectively at everybody that's there, you look at Manny Pacquiao, and he's still that guy that these guys can make money off of. And I think maybe the way they're looking at it is like Thurman is that guy that he's been the longest lasting champion that they've had. So he should maybe get the Pacquiao fight before inevitably launching into what I think is going to be like not a round robin, but I think is going to be Sean Porter and Errol Spence, and Pacquiao and Keith Thurman, and the winners fight each other. Like I think that's what they're setting up, because before we got on, and I'll lead on to that next. They're talking. WBC's announcing Sean Porter and Errol Spence to be the next fight. So you see how the PBC and everybody there seems like things are in motion. So I guess we have to see how that's going to pan out. But they're talking about July 20th, Fox pay-per-view, likely Las Vegas. This will be Keith Thurman's first pay-per-view date. And again, it's like they're doing the same thing like how they did with Broner, where they're giving him the opportunity. And I think this is partially why they got Pacquiao to sign, because he's the last flagship pay-per-view fighter that these guys can attach themselves to. And I just think Keith Thurman, way more than Broner, has a chance to actually beat Pacquiao. More with Broner, it was like, we kind of knew what was going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see what happens as far as the official announcement. But and let me get your opinion on this too. Mikey Garcia officially vacates. Well, I don't. All right. What is an emeritus champion? Okay, like I never understood what that official title meant, because Mikey like officially vacated the 135 WBC title. Okay, he was on the Fox show that they have with the PBC on Fox Sports, and he basically announced it like, I'm relinquishing the title. I think there was a rumor about like Luke Campbell and Devin Haney maybe fighting for the vacant title, but he is done at lightweight right now, which really signals the end of him and Lomachenko. So
Uh-huh.
ROD, like, what does Mikey do, man? Like, what does he do if he's not going to 134? If he's not staying at 135?
So did he? Did he? Let's establish this first. Did he vacate it because he is unable to defend the title? Like,
Well, he flat out said that he is not gonna. His next fight's not gonna be at 135.
yeah. See, and to your point, I'm playing Angel's advocate. And to your point, he wants to see what options are available for 140 or 147 at his return fight.
Right.
Let me tell you something right now. Mikey does not need to be at 147, just like, sharks don't need to be out walking on land in the hot sun. Like, he does not need to be out of his jurisdiction, man. He needs to stay at the most at 140. And even then, I'm cringing. So, if he's going to be at 147, and just let me tell you something. And I mean this for all the Danny Jacobs fans out here as well. Everybody thought Danny Jacobs won that fight with Triple G because he survived 12 rounds. And to me, I'm just like, no, he didn't. Just because Mikey went 12 rounds with Spence doesn't mean that he can handle other 147 pounders. So I want everybody to get that notion out their head, because what could wind up happening, man, is Mikey could get hurt really bad, man. As Train said, there's weight classes for a reason. So I'm not sold on him being at 140 more so, or 147 more so than I am at him being at 140. He really needs to vacate. He looked like he could not pull the trigger at 147. I didn't like the way his body looked at 147. I didn't like his energy at 147. I didn't like anything about him being at 147 at all. He needs to be at 140, and forget the belts and all that stuff. It's just detrimental to his health to be at 147.
Yo, I'm telling you, man. I know. I have a funny feeling they're gonna do a Garcia versus Garcia fight. It just seems, if they're keeping it in the umbrella, under the umbrella, that just seems like a logical fight for both guys. If the idea is Mikey's staying at 147.
That's terrible, man. That sounds like a law firm, Garcia and Garcia.
Yeah, there. Somebody in the comments is saying Garcia was lethargic at 147. I mean, the thing with Mikey was, it's like it's a two-way street, because one on one end you look at, like, all right, well, it's his first fight at 147, and he's fighting arguably the best 1A or 1B guy there, depending how you rate him and Crawford, meaning Spence. And then you look at that, and it's like, yeah, he wasn't, even at 140, he looks small. So 147, it's like, what can you really expect? I don't know, man. I mean, they must be offering these guys a lot of money, because at this point, it doesn't seem to really matter about the titles, because, I mean, we could have had a full unification at lightweight with Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia. I mean, we could have had that. And
so, you know what I blame that on? I'm telling you. I know you guys are going to laugh. I blame that on Spence. I blame that on Porter, Thurman, and Garcia. These guys, if they would have fought Errol Spence, I don't think we've been talking about Mikey moving up 2 weight classes and setting up this goofy fight. It's just, I mean, shout out to him for having enough moxie to do it. But if those guys would have stepped up, we would have been never talking about him vacating anything, man, because at that point in time, Errol Spence would have had a partner to dance with, and we'd have just kind of been moving on. It's kind of unfortunate, man, because I just think he's on a kamikaze career suicide mission, to be honest, if he goes to 147.
Like, how do you think a fight with him and Mikey, or him and Danny, looks? Like, do you think he could beat Danny?
Let me tell you something. Danny on his worst day, okay? On his worst day, if you sit in front of Danny, as lethargic and slow as Danny may look to some people, you sit in front of him, man, and you might find yourself out of here, man. So I'm just telling you, man, I didn't like the way Mikey looked at 147, and he feel like he's gonna win some gold medals for sitting in front of
Yeah, right.
Errol Spence and think he can do the same thing with some of these other people. Let me tell you, man, it's just different, man. I mean, he might sit in front of and I think honestly that Earl might have carried him in some bits of that fight. Danny Garcia may try to prove a point to him, man. I don't know, man. I don't like that fight at all for Mikey at all.
Yeah, man. I mean, we'll have to see what he ends up doing, but he's hinting that he wants a fifth division world title. But I'm like, it's slim pickings, bro. You got I mean, outside of Sean Porter, it's Spence and Crawford, so you already fought one of those guys, and I don't like your chances against really either one of them, to be honest with you. But I I don't know, man. I don't know what his MO is. At 140, based with what the PBC has and Al Heyman, they don't have a lot to offer. That's more what Bob Arum has. So, man, I don't know, man. I think he might end up fighting him 147, but it's like to his detriment. I think he's just not a welterweight, man. We've been saying this from day one, man. He's not a welterweight. So I don't know, man. But yeah, well, we talked about Danny fought this weekend, fought Adrian Granado, serve up fight. He's calling out all this person, that person. We'd like to see him in there with the guy I'm about to talk about right now, but he failed to mention his name. That is obviously Terence Crawford, and Amir Khan fought on ESPN pay-per-view. They haven't rolled in the numbers yet, man, but look, I think the story coming out of this fight, unfortunately, is how it culminated with Khan gets hit with a low blow, yeah, but it's something we've talked about, man. Like, we've seen dudes get hit, they take 5 minutes, and they go right back at it, and it just seemed like, based on what was happening in the fight, yeah, after being dropped in the first round, the fight wasn't going Khan's way. He landed some shots, but I don't know, man. It's pretty clear he quit. I mean, I think it's beyond speculation at this point. Um, Look, at the very end of the day, this was a fight that none of us asked for. This, even on pay-per-view, there's not much to take away. We knew what was going to happen in this fight. It's very unfortunate for Crawford that this is what's going to be remembered about this fight, more so than the stuff that maybe both you and I saw, ROD and Coltrane. I mean, we know how good Crawford is, man, but this was just a bad look for Top Rank, for ESPN. This being their pay-per-view, their rollout pay-per-view. I don't know, man. I mean, well, before we get to, Crawford's future, man, just give me your take on, I guess, Amir Khan as it relates to that whole ordeal.
Yeah, that was really, again, was it? I forget the quote or who said it, but Teddy Roosevelt, I believe, he says that it's a quote about man in an arena, and he says basically the gist of the quote is like no one can comment on anything unless they've done it before, and while we sit here in our armchair playing quarterback or trainer, we've never been in that situation with Amir Khan, and I don't want to say he quit. It looks like he did. I'm gonna have respect for him, but at the end of the day, we kind of knew that fight was tough walking in for him. Regardless of how things looked when he fought Canelo or didn't fight Canelo, it was just going to be very, very, very bad. And I feel like from that first round, man, he started to deteriorate, and it was a low blow, but I don't think it was low enough to warrant a fight stop. As a matter of fact, I was looking for my 5 minutes, meaning, okay, are we going to give you 5 minutes to really sit here and ask you, man, hey, do you want to continue? And the answer shouldn't have just been, nah, I'm good. It's just been like he should have been hunting for those 5 minutes. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. That's what we want, right?
Yeah, so that's really my issue there, man. Yeah, it wasn't low. It was absolutely low. Do I call him a quitter? Nah. I've never been in that situation before, so I don't want to do that. But I'm just saying we knew that before Miracon stepped to that ring that he was done. So if anybody expected anything different, then I feel bad for you because I didn't expect anything different from out of Amir Khan. I didn't expect anything different from this fight. I think we all called it TKO in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So there you have it. You got your TKO, So it's just unfortunate, man, because again, I think people look at it they wanted Bud to like Hannibal Lecter do, like basically flawlessly kill him, strategically set him up. And that first round was looking that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bud got hit with some stuff, pulling straight back. But let me tell you something. The only problem I have, and I'll end with this, is when Amir Khan said that he was peeing blood from the low blow, and I'm sitting there watching the 4, 5, and 6 body shots he got hit with, and they were some vicious, wicked body shots. Like Bud had a game plan, and he was killing Amir Khan's body.
Yep.
That body shot, that leg, that thigh shot, probably just for the most part made his leg numb. But I still think if I were Amir Khan and I didn't want to be categorized as any type of cheater, I would have asked for those 5 minutes, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what everybody was, I guess, waiting for, and then it the fight just abruptly ended, and then we were like, okay, so I guess it's over. But yeah, look, I mean, I think the unfortunate, and I guess we'll get into like Crawford's future, because we were sitting here talking about Errol Spence and Keith Thurman and Sean Porter and all these guys that are welterweights. 2 of them are champions, or 3 of them are champions, but it's Crawford's like he's like the kid like outside looking inside and knowing he can't play in that sandbox. And Bob Arum's getting out there saying, we can, Al Heyman doesn't want these fights and all this, that, and the third. And then he's talking about race and he's talking about this. And it's like, oh, man. Look, it's pretty clear, man, that Terence Crawford, he's in a tough bind right now. Because coming off of this Amir Khan fight, I mean, he looked good, but the ending of the fight, it's what people remember, and it's not something that people are going to remember in conjunction with, wow, Terence Crawford had a hell of a performance. I mean, even the first knockdown gets lost, because of what happened as far as, the low blow in the whole nine. I really, really don't know what they're going to do, because it's clear as day. We've been saying a logical fight should be Terence Crawford and Gennady Garcia. Like, if this were in the HBO era, Showtime era, however you want to put it, that would be the next fight, man. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But because of the entities and the networks and things as such, it's not going to happen. So Terence Crawford, unfortunately, is going to have to fish for fights. And they're talking about potentially Kell Brook. It's like, why are you going to go down that route? ROD, man, like, what is Crawford to do, man? And I mean, we're talking about an Errol Spence fight. I mean, realistically, man, we're not seeing that for another year and change, man. So it's like, who does he fight?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I think a lot of people, man, and shout out to people who celebrate Easter. Uh, a lot of people gave Train slack when he put up that post on our page about, the real loser was Terence Crawford, and we love Terence Crawford. Like, he's our pound for pound guy. But honestly, man, he was the real loser because where does he go after this? And I kind of cringed when Train put it up. But, I said, all right, let's roll with it. And I read it and started reading it. I read it a couple of times. And Train was right. Like, where does Terence Crawford go after this? He has nowhere to go. He is in literally, this precarious predicament, man, where he just cannot get out. You ever see like those? You ever see those boxes? And like the magician and they had the boxes and they had the swords going through the boxes, and you're like, okay, how does he get out of this one? That's the type of jam that Terence Crawford is in because he just signed. As soon as he signed with ESPN, that was it. And no matter what you and I think about him fighting Spence, or if he can beat Spence, it's his options are limited, man. So now it just goes to show you the politics, the portion of the game that I hate, are so involved and so engrossed in all these decision-making processes that top guys can never fight each other. I'm telling you right now, there is a better chance of Terence Crawford, I know it's going to sound crazy, moving down and fighting somebody versus moving up. Versus fighting Errol Spence anytime soon. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but he has a better chance of moving down in weight and fighting some of those champions versus fighting Errol Spence. Leonard Elby just said that fight ain't happening no time soon.
Which is crazy because it's for years, people chimed about Bob and him wanting to do all he wanted to do is in-house fights, and I'm like, look at the dynamic of the sport now. Everybody's doing it. It's not. And look, to be fair, if Bob had what Al Heyman has, I'm pretty sure Bob would be doing the same thing. Oscar would be doing the same thing. Think about Oscar now, man. Don't you think it's pretty clear he has a stranglehold on the middleweight division with Canelo? You know what I'm saying? What's Charlo doing? You know what I'm saying? It's no different than what's happening with Crawford right now, and Lomachenko too. Like, who's he fighting? It's a tough situation, but I think particularly for Terence Crawford, man, who was rated pound for pound #1. A fight with him and Errol Spence is the premier fight. Look, man, I know we want to see Wilder and Joshua and everything, but when we talk about skills, we talk about two of just the very best fighters in the world, man. It's those two. Because I kind of, with Lomachenko and Mikey, off GP, I have to put that on the side because I don't know what kind of Mikey we have anymore. Like, I'm just being real, I don't know. With Crawford and Spence, these guys, I think, are going to be in their primes for the next 3 years, and I would hate for that fight to, go on to, the 11th hour where you're going into the fight. You're like, man, Crawford's kind of slipping a little bit in his last fight, and, that's what we just don't want to go down that route. You know what I mean? And on top of it, Crawford's not a spring chicken in the grand scheme. He's early 30s, but 31, 32, 33 comes, for those of you in your, then when you get to your 30s, man, they go pretty quick. So I don't know what's happening with Crawford, man. I really don't know. I don't think any of us really know.
And it's a shame because now he's at the point where he's reaching, like you said, those 30s, and Spence ain't that far behind him. Like, let's be honest.
No,
how far?
He's 29. He's there too.
29. Yeah. So, but the key is, man, is that you just look at this and you just say to yourself, "Wow, what's going to happen, man? Like what's going to happen with these two guys?" And I told you before, I know no one believed it. Spence, one or two things are going to happen. Spence is going to outgrow that division because he's big.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Or I'm telling you, Crawford's going to have to find another way. It's apparent that fight is probably going to be the fight that never happened. And if it does happen, it's going to happen too late.
It's not happening anytime soon, whereas we've been told.
Yep, it's not happening anytime soon, man. And it's it's all money, power, politics. Just as we started the show with Abel Sanchez and Triple G. It's like Lauren Hill said, it's funny how money changes the situation. So
yeah.
Yep. So I don't know, man. I feel like he had a good showing, but it's a shame, man, because like, all right, we're running out of options now. So what do we do? I mean, he got a better chance of fighting your son at this point.
I mean that's it's kind of where he's at this point, and I think the fact that Amir Khan was like a last minute option, man, is it's not a good sign,
Yeah.
man.
And let me tell you something, man. I know it's gonna sound crazy. I don't like that Kell Brook fight for him either.
I mean, I think you'll beat Kell Brook. I just don't think it's. I mean, especially if it's at 147, he's gonna drain Brook. But what does that do for him? You know, like
Man, every fight that Kell Brook has been in has been competitive.
I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, his
And I
last
like it.
couple of fights though have been like kind of shaky though.
They have, but let me tell you something too. The other thing is that where are they gonna fight? You gonna go over to UK?
No, he already said they're not. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, what's the point? Well, like, why even do that?
Yeah, so if he fight him over here, that's cool. He fight him in the UK, I ain't taking that fight. That Kell Brook style, man, I'm telling you, man. I mean, granted, he fights Triple G and Spence fight a little bit different, way different. That's a different sandwich than what Crawford's bringing to the table because Crawford a little bit more mobile than those two guys, and he's not gonna sit there and take a lot of punishment. Whereas Spence and Triple G will walk through a hailstorm to throw one punch at you. So again, two different sandwiches we talking about here, but again, you know, I still don't like that style, man. I mean, goodness gracious, give us Danny Garcia.
That's what
And
I take that fight. I would. That's the fight I would like to see. I'm very intrigued about that fight. I mean, I'd pick Crawford in the fight, but when we talk about options, and even for both guys too, you know what I mean? That's the thing. It's just we know Danny has options, which is why I think they're gonna somehow make Danny and Mikey a fight. Like I think that's gonna happen. But in a perfect world, I think it'd be Danny and Bud. Like that's a good fight. So I don't know. I mean we
I
have
mean, Danny and Bud is a very good fight. It's intriguing. I think Danny needs it for his name's sake, but again, man, some people think that Danny ran out of 140 because Crawford was on his heels. So I don't know, man. This is getting very, very, very bad, man. Like, I'll leave you with this. Sleep said, I don't even know where to watch these fights anymore. Like, where am I watching them?
well
So when you,
that's another
yeah, so
topic
now,
we gotta get on.
yeah, so now you have, we're running. Yeah, everybody's happy about, Ding Dong the Witch is dead. So like, HBO is not showing fights anymore. But now we're like, well, crap. How do we watch them? Where are we missing them? And then on top of that, you're not getting the caliber of fights that you want either. So
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Like again, you're gonna see, you're gonna see Wild. Everyone will see Wilder, but are we seeing Fury? Like we're not even seeing Fury versus Ortiz because of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're not seeing Fury. I mean, we're not seeing Ortiz and Joshua rather because of this whole thing. We're not going to see Fury in any of those guys anytime soon at all.
No,
So
and you brought up a good point, man. I mean, we were talking about it with before we wrap up. I mean, one of the shows we want to do in the very very near future because it's a topic that it's running rampant. I mean, a lot of the hardcore fans. I mean, Sleep, remember the crew, man. Like it's becoming even hard for him as he was telling Train, where to catch these fights. My father-in-law, he asked like, "Hey, the Lomachenko fight, what channel is it on ESPN?" I'm like, "No, it's on the app." He's like, "What app?" And then you got the Zone, and then it's getting really tough for even the hard it's like the hardcore fan is becoming the casual fan now, in a weird way. But it doesn't help when you look at the division in every single division in boxing, and there's a divide, whether it's because you're with a particular network, a particular promoter, and like what I've been terming in the chats, man, is interleague fighting. It really is. I mean, it's no different than like if the NBA was split into 3 leagues and then you had just separate champions. Like, oh, I'm the East Coast champion. Oh, I'm the West Coast champ. Oh, I'm the Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, how much different really is it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, it is. I mean, again, but see, so crazy. To your point, the one thing we don't have. This is why people watch mixed martial arts, and this is why people are going to watch like other sports where you have great competition facing great competition like the NFL, college football now that they have their bowling system is different. College basketball because they have a pool where everybody just face each other. It's because the best is facing the best, and you don't have the middleman there.
mm-hmm.
And honestly, man, there needs to be some type of clause that will allow these boxers, man, to basically like just fight each other without like any penalty. Because you know if you ask Terence Crawford he wants to fight Errol Spence, he's going to say yes. Yes, Errol Spence he wants to fight Terence Crawford, he's going to say yes. The only thing that's standing between them is a rich white guy and a rich black guy. You know what I mean? So you would just hope, man, that they can put their differences together, man, and make the fight. But there need to be some type of clause where they can be like, all right, you guys get this one time. Where you can kind of fight outside with no penalty, nobody suing, nobody doing this and that. Because I really believe that Terence Crawford and Earl Spence could probably make this fight happen without those two guys. I bet you.
Yeah, it's just we kind of know how this rolls. It's just them two dudes seem like they're not the most polarizing figures. Where they need people to kind of do that for them. But the whole fact of the matter is that we shouldn't have to be We should like a fight. All right, even as long as Pacquiao and Mayweather took to happen, one could argue that it made sense why it didn't happen right away. Why? Because both guys were making hand over fist, not having to fight each other yet. Pacquiao was pulling in 1 million and change fighting Cotto. Floyd was pulling in 1 million and change fighting Juan Manuel Marquez, then Victor Ortiz, and then Pacquiao fought Mosley. And all these fights, they're like 1 million buys. So there wasn't a need in the immediate for these guys, even though we were hyped. Like these guys still made money, like a lot of money, not fighting one another. With Crawford and Spence, it's not that kind of dynamic, nowhere near. So at its peak, it's not going to be like I don't even think it'll be. Maybe it'll be like De La Hoya Trinidad. Maybe it will never be Mayweather Pacquiao. That's like an anomaly. And I don't think we should. The sport should have that as a standard. There's a reason why Mayweather Pacquiao. Granted, the fight may not be remembered as much, but the hoopla and the lead up will always be because of how polarizing both guys were. Crawford and Spence are two of the best prime fighters right now that just want to fight. There's no filler. There's no pizzazz. Charisma and these guys just go in there and they fight. And you know what? Sometimes that just sells. You don't have to be a character. You don't have to be this, that, and the third. But the thing is, if both sides aren't at the very least coming together to say, listen, we know this ain't gonna happen right away, but let's set up a year plan to try to do this. This is how it was done back in the day. Leonard Hearns was like a year plan. Leonard Duran was like a year plan or the first one, but it's a disservice to the fans and also to the fighters too, man, because you're only gonna get these kind of fights once, and there's some other fighters in history, man, that you say like, you fought great guys and things as such, and then but you start to look like, man, imagine if you would have fought him at this time and that. And Crawford and Spence are at that point within the next couple of years where it would make I feel, for a very memorable fight. Don't think it's a war, but I think it's a very tactical, hard hitting boxing match that I think we'd all be treated to. But everybody involved has to want it at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yep. You're absolutely right.
So, but I think that is pretty much it, man. There, like I said, there's the fights on the Zone this weekend. There's fights on ESPN Plus. Following weekend, we got it creeped up on us. Canelo versus Danny Jacobs. I've seen some promotion about it, but again, a lot of people are kind of like, "Where is this fight on? What the hell is the Zone? I don't know what this is." I'm I'm DJing my shout to my aunt who's turning the big 5-0. I'm DJing her party, and we're gonna have like a mini party after her party for the fight. So I guess in the technology world, like it's gonna come in handy that I have the fight, on this little trusty device. But that's next next Saturday. The undercard doesn't look that great. We'll be talking about the fights later in May. We got Deontay Wilder and Dominic Brazil. That's gonna be on Showtime. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Did you want to wrap up with anything before we close up? RD? Oh, he bounced out. Okay. So yeah, that is pretty much the show, man. Follow us at GYGB Boxing on Instagram, at GYG Boxing on Twitter, Facebook.com/GYG Boxing. Yeah, we'll be back recapping the fights from this weekend, obviously, and then we're gonna do the preview for Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs. Adelaide Bird is back. You can't make this shit up, man. So, any case, we'll be back next week, man. Like I said, follow us at GYGB Boxing on Instagram, Facebook.com/GYG Boxing. So, and hit the like and subscribe, notifications, the whole jazz. So, until next time, we are out of here, man. Peace.